Alright, so today we're going to be doing a review on the Revlon Colorstay. This is in 180 Sand Beige. I find this to be a little bit lighter than my normal color, which is a good thing because then I can put a little bit of powder over top to set it and a little bit of bronzer just to kind of help bring out some color. Before I was using the Colorstay, I was using like the Bare Mineral type. It wasn't actually Bare Mineral. I think it was, well, let's see, Bare Naturel by L'Oreal. I had this and the concealer. I wasn't impressed at all. It felt like they just kind of came off throughout the day. You know, about the first 20 minutes that I was wearing it, it would look great, and then after that, it was gone. I'm going to show you guys how to use this, how I use it personally, along with my review of it. Alright, so you want to make sure that you shake this up because it does have ingredients in it. They're going to settle out to the bottom. So make sure we shake that. And then I've seen a lot of girls actually put this down on like a CD case or a blank CD even, but you're just going to take a very small amount, about like that's about what I use. It's going to be about the size, between the size of a dime and a quarter once you get it set out. And you're going to need a wedge brush or a wedge sponge and a round sponge. And actually this was not bought as a wedge. I cut this out of a round one because I wasn't sure when I first started which one I'd use. So you can kind of make your own if you don't have one there handy. You're just going to dip that in. And I like to start under my eye first. And one thing that I learned about this was that you don't want to put any kind of a concealer down first, because what that does is it puts that powder down and then you're putting a liquid on top, and that's going to cause any crease that you have under your eye to really show, and I wasn't a great big fan of that. My first day using it, I had that problem. So I kind of go under my eyes first and then around my nose because I have a lot of freckles from tanning in the tanning bed. I'm not going to say I'm a tannorexic, but I actually do really like tanning. But it has brought out a lot of freckles within the past year or two since I've had mine in my home. So you want to go around those problem areas first with your smaller sponge. I do have some acne scarring. If you guys are wanting some tips on what to do about acne, definitely check out my fish oil review, and that'll give you some great ideas. Alright, so now that we have that down, we're going to come in with our round sponge. And if I didn't tell you guys this before, you need to make sure that this is wet. You do not want to apply these on dry, because what that's going to do is that's going to cause you to have a little bit of trouble blending that. I find that if you let them down and then, you know, bring them out to where they're just a little bit wet, you've got a little bit more control. You can blend that a little better and, you know, feather that color back. Always make sure that you get around those hairlines. You don't want to have a color that stops short and leaves a line there. I've seen girls come in, you know, to where I work and I see this and I'm just like, oh, that does not look good. Don't be afraid to go over anything. You want to make sure that you've got good coverage, but you also want to make sure that it's not going to get caked on. And this stuff is quickly built. It does not take a whole lot at all. It builds very fast. The color payoff with the Revlon Colorstay is one of the best I've seen so far. You can dab it in some of those areas where you need a little more coverage and then just kind of smooth it out. Alright, so now that you've pretty well got your face, you kind of bring that down. And you just want to rub that down. You don't want to really do any blotting because you don't want any harsh color staying there. You just want to make sure that that's mixed in really well along your jawline. Alright, now that it looks like everything's blended really well, we're going to let that dry for just a second. Alright, so now that you've got your Revlon Colorstay down, what you're wanting to do now is to set that in a nice powder. You want to use something that's translucent or very similar to the shade that you're in now. The brush that I like to use is actually a really big fluffy brush by Sonia Kashuk. These are the new brushes I got. So what I do is I just kind of disregard this here and dip a little bit down into whatever powder you happen to have. This is the Bare Natural. I didn't want to get rid of this because I thought if I can use this over top, then that means I can go ahead and get it used up and not have to waste it. So you want to make sure that you get a thin coverage of that over the entire area. And if that's too light for you, you can come in with a little bit of bronzer. This one's actually Physicians Formula. I've had this thing forever. It takes forever to get used up. I like it because the powder actually, there's a hole inside of here, and the powder actually comes down through the brush. I wish a lot of makeup was made this way. However, this time, since I don't want to use this brush, because that does put down a lot of coverage, I'm just going to take and undo this, and I'm going to dip my brush down into the top. Just kind of knock that off. And what you want to do is you kind of want to go around those areas where you're going to frame your face. You're going to do a little bit of a highlight here. Kind of mix in what's left, because you definitely don't want to put down a lot of bronzer. I did that my first day using this, and it was not pretty. Alright. So it looks like we're done.